What is up, citizen detectives, secret boyfriends, and antler queens? This is the Yellowjackets Buzz Podcast, and today, Jane Widdop, Laura Lee on Yellowjackets, joining us. Jane, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. We have so many questions. How are you feeling post-finale?
Post-finale, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I can finally talk about everything that I want to talk about. And that's why I'm so glad we're doing this interview post-finale, because there's just so much that I was like, I just can't say anything. And I really only know like season 1. I don't know anything
Yeah,
past that. So it's nice. Like I don't have to really catch myself anymore.
cool. I have to say, in a scary episode, your appearance in the finale scared the crap out of me almost more than anything else in that episode because the way they built it to that reveal, that was just masterful.
Yeah, that was a really cool scene. I was actually the entire time in the scene before you see me, I'm like sitting in the back, hidden behind Liv.
Mm.
'Cause they were like, "You got to be in there," and I was like, "I'm wearing a flower dress with a yellow sweater. How am I gonna not be seen?"
Right?
Um, but that was a really, really fun, shoot to come back to, especially because, my mom was actually there with me that day because I was leaving for LA the next day, so she got to come and, like, see the set, see the cabin, which was super fun, so it was a really fun day on set, but we wrapped at, like, 4 AM. It was a late night.
Oh,
I have to
wow.
say, I have the complete opposite reaction, Glenn. When I saw Laura Lee, I felt peace. There's something about her character that just brings me this everything's gonna be okay. Even when we know it's not gonna be okay at all. I just see
Mhm.
her face and I'm like, oh, it's okay. Laura Lee's here. Everything's gonna be fine. So I saw her and I was like, what a better way for Jackie to enter the afterlife than with Laura
Yeah,
Lee welcoming her. Come on.
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
But that "We love you, Jackie" line is so creepy. I love the way that they did it.
Oh, it came out wonderfully.
Mhm.
I am a big fan of movies like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen, and I think just the creepy cult vibes from that
Mhm.
scene were so chilling when you realized what was happening. And just, I mean, credit to the cast. So, diving into it, talk a little bit. What was your process like getting cast and involved in Yellow Jackets?
Well, so we started I think they started the casting process November 2019, because we shot the pilot in December, but I auditioned for a couple people before. I auditioned for I think it was Shauna and Lottie, and then I finally went in for Laura Lee, and they were like, "There we go. That's blonde, blue eyes. Let's do it." So that was a fun process, especially getting to see each character and their different backstories and kind of being able to step in their shoes. So I felt like that was cool. And I think a bunch of other people auditioned for different parts as well, which I think just helps the process. Um, but getting involved in the show, we shot December 2019, and I was actually the only one that was the age of the girls
Oh,
at that
wow.
time because I was 17. Yeah, now I'm 19. But that was super trippy because I was the only one that I was that age. And then of course pandemic happened and then we shot in Canada. But at the beginning in episode 1, I really had no idea where Laura Lee's character was headed. So I was just like, okay, Christian girl, she's gonna be in this plane crash, but I didn't really have much to go off of um until we got later on into the season.
Well, that's interesting because, I saw in the interviews that Ashley and Bart are doing now, they're saying that originally Laura Lee was supposed to die in that plane crash. Did they shoot that
Yeah.
or was it decided?
No, so the way that you know how we have in episode 1, we're kind of like getting into that crash, but we're not fully there.
Yeah.
So their original plan was for episode 2. You know how there's like the girl with the
Mhm.
thing coming out of her neck. So I think Misty was originally supposed to see me dead, but
Ah.
then they changed that. I actually didn't know that Ashley and Bart had said that, so I'm glad that I can talk about that. I was like, "Can I say this? I don't know." But yeah, I was supposed to die, and, they just liked me and liked what I did with the character. I was like, "Thanks, guys." I had, like, 3 lines in the pilot, but I really appreciate that.
No, I'm fascinated by the development process of the show and the changes between the pilot script and series and some of the
Mhm.
recasting. I mean, I just think it's a phenomenal journey. But I think it's great that they saw so much more potential for the character, and she played such an important role in
Mhm.
season one. So how was it portraying a character of such devoted faith?
Well, for me, I grew up Christian. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, which is a church that is very accepting. We love anyone and everyone. I think reading when I was little, there's like a little message going into the church, and it's like gay, straight, they, them, she, he, her, homeless, housed, whatever, you're welcome here. So that's kind of always the relationship I've had with Christianity, which I know is very different from a lot of people's, and especially a lot of queer people. And so I just took it with that, and my mom works at a church actually, so I've always kind of had that relationship really close to it, even though I'm not Christian. But I think having that really helped me understand that Laura Lee was not this she's not trying to hate on anybody, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, she's very much like, "I've read the Bible, I know that Jesus loves everyone, so I'm going to love everyone as well." But I think the thing with Laura Lee that I kind of learned throughout the season, and especially with episode 8 and with the help of, our director, Ariel Kleiman, he we walked through it, and because the original, when she has that accident where she hits her head and she's
Yeah.
revived, that's a very taboo thing that's happening. She's having mouth to mouth like at 13, and it just in that environment in such a Christian camp, like that's really, really taboo. And so I have always found my faith in things where I normal people kind of might not see it in that way. So, because I really like Wicca and a bunch of
Oh,
the occult stuff. So I took that and I just made it Christian. I kind of made it my own. And she looks at these really taboo things like the plane that almost killed Jackie, and she thinks, no, that's a sign from God. And even though it was a scary, like almost life or death experience, I've had that before, and that's how I connected to God. So I need to do this in order to fulfill my purpose. Um, so that's kind of the headspace that I went into. But I think another question that a bunch of people were having was when she dives into that pool when she's 13, like why is she diving into the shallow end? Like what's going on in her head? And we kind of came up with this idea that even when she was younger, all throughout her life, she's had these kind of terrible ideas, but she kind of goes into this like fugue state where she doesn't know what she's doing and she just ends up almost dying. You know what I mean? So I think she has these almost not like street smart moves. That's what I would call it. And I think I'm very similar in that way because I just have some like moments where I'm like, that would be such a stupid decision if I made that. But it's not like terrible things. Like I'm thinking about making candles because I have a candle obsession. And so I froze
nice.
my candles. And I had a Laura Lee moment where I was like, like what if I used like perfume, like my extra perfume in my kit? And I was like, no, Jane, that would make a bomb. Like that's alcohol that you're putting fire to. But I just have these moments sometimes, and they're just such Laura Lee moments. So that's what I've started calling them.
I love that because
They're like,
I love Laura Lee, but the second you suggested the playing, I'm sitting here watching the episode like this is a bad idea. Why is nobody stopping her? Which Coach Ben, bless his heart, he
oh,
tried, but I'm
oh,
like, no,
bless his heart.
Laura.
I know. But she has these ideas that are like, you almost can't stop her because that's another
Right.
thing I feel like with people with faith is it's so strong that anything that you say to them is not going to change their faith and what they've been through. And I think that in Laura Lee's head, she really did believe that she survived the pool and all of that in order to save them later.
Right. She has a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So with the pool coming back to that, because we debated that on this podcast, talking about was that misjudging the depth? Was there something intentional
Yeah.
So do you see it as almost more that she has these intrusive thoughts that she almost acts on the impulse?
Very much acting on impulse, not thinking through things. And that's kind of why we wanted to show her in the beginning like that, so that it would make sense for more people to understand that that's where she's coming from. But she has these moments of just, I mean, they're a bunch of teenagers, right? They have
Yeah.
moments of immaturity, and I think that that's a big one for her is she's innocent, she's sweet, she's kind, she's loving, but she can be a bit immature and not in the ways that the other girls are, like in Doom Coming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that type of, she's not that type of immature. She's the type of immature that will go fly a plane because she thinks she can do that, you know?
One thing I love about this series is that faith-based characters, are usually comic relief almost. They're very one
Mhm.
note, and I love how Laura Lee's faith guides her and plays a very important role in the series. Um, I'm curious to know your thoughts because so for me, I mean, I feel very much the nostalgia factor with this
Mhm.
show, and even though I was not raised in the Christian faith, like Christian culture, there was a real Christian culture youth movement that was like cool in the mid 90s when you had like
Mhm.
DC Talk and Jars of Clay. What kind of research did you do into what a Christian teenager would have been into at that time?
Um, I kind of just like I asked my sister is grew up in the 90s. She was very much a Natalie. That's what I would
Mhm.
call her, like blaring the Smashing Pumpkins in her
Yeah,
pickup truck with the windows rolled down, you know? But I used her and I leaned on her a lot because I wanted somebody that had an experience in the 90s that went to high school during this time
yeah.
and was very firsthand. And so she had a friend of hers that was a very devout Christian character. And so I kind of just took some of that information. And then I used a lot of my mom's like growing up because my mom grew up very Baptist. And so picking apart the layers that weren't didn't identify with Laura Lee's Christianity, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I tried to kind of combine a bunch of different values, but I think the big thing for me with Laura Lee is as soon as I would get into character, I felt like a completely different human. And that is kind of like one of the only times I've had that. And
Hmm.
when you look at pictures of me like in character and not in character, I look completely different. And I just don't know how each time I was kind of mind blown. But yeah, I definitely did a lot of research into just like what activities she would like to do. You know what I mean? Or like what her youth group would do on the weekends in New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But I think the other thing with Laura Lee is she does get invited to that party at
Yeah.
the beginning, you know? Like she I think she has like two sets of these friends. She has like her really Christian group and then her soccer team like that she really shouldn't be a part of, but somehow she is and they invite her everywhere even though they don't tell her anything. And I just kind of love that dynamic because I feel like everybody in high school kind of had one of those people. I feel like I was that person, but I was always like, "Wait, what's going on? What are we talking about?" And they're like, "Okay, you know what? We'll tell you later." I was like, "Hey, sure." um, but I think that that's such a for me, I think you can look at it and see one note,
Mhm.
but for me, I didn't. I saw a girl that wants to be accepted, but wants people to accept her for who she is and isn't gonna change,
Yeah.
for that, and I really appreciated that, and that's why I feel like sometimes Laura Lee and I are so different because sometimes I can be the one that's like, I will change. I you want, you know, sure, I'll wear this instead of this. And she's not gonna do that. She's very headstrong, and gonna wear what she wants, even her sweaters and her flowery shirts and dresses in the middle of the woods, you know?
Hey, it makes it work.
She does.
No, I was just going to ask about, well, just because I'm someone very much older than you, but I still have a stuffed animal from the day I was
Mhm.
born. So I just want to give Leonard a special shout out because I thought he played such a good part in the Laura Lee character. And I saw that you
Yes.
got a tattoo to honor Yellow Jackets
Mhm.
and the stuffed bear. So I just wanted to commend you on your, commitment to give Leonard the credit that he deserves by getting
Yeah.
him tattooed on you. I think that's amazing.
Well, the funny thing about Leonard and the tattoo is Leonard, I don't know where he is right now, but I have a Leonard in my room.
Nice.
I asked for one. I was like, you have 20 of these. I know you lit like 6 on fire, so I know you have duplicates." Um so I took one the last day when we were filming, but I have so many stuffed animals. I'm literally sitting on like 3 right now. I'm
Yeah.
such a stuffed animal person.
Yep.
Um, but the funny thing about the tattoo is I went in, I played a character before on a pilot that didn't get picked up by Pete Berg called Bloodline, and my character's name was Bird.
Hmm.
And so I've kind of always connected with birds and had that. And then of course with Laura Lee, when she connects with other birds, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'll get a bird tattoo. And I found this guy online that I really liked. He does stick and pokes. And I said, hey, like I kind of want birds, but I don't know, because I was looking through his flash designs and he was like, come on in, we'll figure it out. We'll find what you want. Okay. So I get there and I'm looking through all of his flash designs, and he's a new tattoo artist. So he's like, I'm only doing the designs that I've drawn before. I'm not, but if you want to change something about it, I can help you out with that. And I also never do a tattoo twice. So I'm looking through and I see a bunch of teddy bears. I'm like, oh, that would be cute. But I'm really still dead set on this bird idea. And he didn't have any birds, but I'm flipping through and there's a teddy bear with angel wings and a halo holding a bird. I'm like, that that's the one. That's the one I want. And he was
Like
like, "Oh
meant to
yeah."
be.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I really like this one." Like my old tattoo artist boss was like, "This is the one. This is your best design yet, but nobody has picked it." And it's apparently a statue from his mom's garden. So I didn't even make that tattoo design. I just found it and I was like, "This is Laura Lee. This is it." So
I
that
am
was really
mind blown
fortuitous.
at
I
this
know.
story because I follow you and I seen the tattoo. I thought you came up with the idea, the angel wings the halo because of what happens to
Mhm.
Laura Lee, the bird, and then the teddy bear. So the fact
I
that
know.
it was meant to be, you were meant to get that tattoo.
It was so weird. It was really meant to be. He was like, "Are you sure? Like, you don't wanna, like, look for a little bit longer?" And I was like, "No, I know I want this one."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a little bummed we didn't get to see Laura Lee on shrooms when Leonard started talking to her. I think that would have been a
I
moment.
know. I know. I feel like
Yes.
she would've, like, seen the skies open up and been like, "Oh my god, Jesus is walking down towards me?" That would've been yeah, that would've been really funny. I would've loved to play Laura Lee on shrooms.
Oh my god, in F sharp, just the when you drop the piano teachers. I mean, that was
That was my favorite Laura Lee moment. That
Oh,
was
I love
perfect. Yeah.
that.
because of course you think that it was going to be something subtle that Laura Lee would think was a bad word, but really wasn't that bad. And it was just like, whoa, okay, we're
Yeah,
going there. Yeah, that
we're
was
going there.
awesome.
I loved
Which
that
goes to show
monologue.
you, yeah, it goes to show you the two dimensions that you just said Laura Lee has,
Mhm.
same as getting invited to the party. You think she's this sweet, innocent girl, but there is a
Yep,
different side of her. And
yep.
that right there showed it. I was not expecting her to come up with that.
Mhm.
It was amazing.
Also, I just find it so funny. Somebody on Twitter or Reddit talked about this, but they're like, every time Laura Lee says a curse word, she ends up in a plane crash. And I was like, "Oh,
No.
but it's true."
No
I
more
know.
cursing for Laura Lee. Well, she can.
When I was like talking to my family, they of course like wanted to know what happened later on, and
Yeah.
had to talk to them about it. I was working, you know what I mean? And I was like, "Oh yeah, I die in a plane crash." And they were like, "No, no, no, you survived the plane crash." And I was like, "No, I die in a second plane crash."
When you were
Actually,
speaking, yes, when you were speaking about how the character made it when she was supposed to die in the plane crash, I was like, well, technically
Mhm.
speaking, she died in a
Technically,
plane
she
crash.
did die in a plane crash, just
They
not the
just
first
extended
one.
her stay.
Yeah, just for a little bit. Had to get close to Lottie.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, how was
It's
it working
amazing.
with Courtney Eaton, given that the journey between Laura Lee and Lottie was so powerful?
I love Courtney. I think she is such a phenomenal actress. She made it so easy to play off of her. But I think that their moments are really, really special because, like I said, Laura Lee finds God, faith in really taboo things, and that's Lottie. You know, that's how they connect. And I don't we kind of didn't really get into this backstory, but I don't think that they've had a lot of connection before the plane crash. I think that this is really the one thing that brings them together. And then obviously, probably Lottie's downfall when I die as well.
Yeah.
But I love the highs and the lows of their storyline. And I also really like how they have had very similar near death experiences. So when I hit my head in that thing, like when I'm younger, Lottie also had that car crash, but she also had the same experience that I had when I was 13 when I baptized her. And I think that that's such a cool like parallel between the
Mhm.
two. Um, and I really do think that their storylines mesh perfectly together. I wasn't expecting that to happen, that relationship to take place. And it was really funny to me because after people saw the pilot, they were like, "Oh, Lottie and Lottie Lee." I was like, "How did you guys see this? I didn't even see this when we filmed the pilot. What?" So that was pretty funny to me. I loved that people were able to catch on. I was like, I didn't catch on.
So many similarities. The Bible also had a very strong impact on Lottie, just in a different way.
Like
Exactly.
literally.
Just literally. Yeah. Right at her.
That was just so great. You think about everything you see with exorcisms and movies and whatnot, and it's funny that nobody tried that in The Exorcist. Nobody just literally tried. Maybe throw a
Yeah.
Bible at them.
No. And the funny thing is, I was talking to Ashley and Bart before we filmed that episode, and I was like, "So it's like The Exorcist, right? Like that's like what she's thinking about. That's what's coming to mind." And they were like, "Yeah, like she is fully using her brain, remembering this movie that she saw, and being like, this is gonna work," and it did. But I just spent the entire weekend before we filmed that just watching The Exorcist over and over and over and over and over
I love
again.
The Exorcist. It's one of my favorite
It's
horror
it
movies.
honestly, I was really happy and excited that I just had to watch it for my homework.
Yeah.
That was fun homework.
Oh, that's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, 1000%. I would do horror
Yeah.
movie homework any day of the week.
Yeah.
What is your dream casting for older Laura Lee if you could have your pick?
Um, I've thought about this. Of course I have. I don't wanna, like I've done this, like, face app thing where you put your face onto different actors and
We all
scenes.
have, girl. We all have.
Yeah. And so, the one that I did, I was like, "This works so well," but Cameron Diaz, it's like, you know what?
That's
If
really
anybody
good, actually. I see
I
it.
know, I was like, I would want Cameron Diaz to play me. But yeah, that
I totally
obviously that
see
won't
it.
happen.
It could still happen. It could have been like Back to the Future. Her and Leonard could have ripped the space-time continuum and gone back and,
You know what? Maybe that's happened. She did make a Back to the Future reference. There's the
yeah,
theory.
Yes.
she met Cabin Guy,
Mhm.
and, set everything in motion.
Oh, yes. Cabin guy.
Who knew, like, French Canadians could be so terrifying?
I know.
I mean, ooh, that was something. But no, so speaking of stuff that was deleted, I have to ask this because we've seen so much addressed on the series, whether it was like fishing or animal traps or just these little
Mhm.
asides. Was there ever any mention or recognition of a radio or why there wasn't a radio in that airplane, in that Cessna?
In the Cessna.
Yeah,
I don't know, to be honest.
yeah,
I mean, I did do a bunch of research about, like, the plane and stuff like that
yeah.
because but also my brother is a pilot.
Oh, nice.
Um, and so I kind of leaned on him, but I'm not really sure. I think if either that Cessna was very old and it
Mhm.
wasn't, like, up to date, so it wasn't working, or, it, like, had gotten
Yeah.
ripped out. But I think it's very possible that it could have gotten taken out
Mm.
because of that whole thing of, like, it didn't want it to leave. Like, I definitely think if Laura Lee had taken off and there'd been a radio in there, she would have been able to reach somebody and could have at least let them know, even if
Yeah.
she still did die. Um, but I definitely think if there was an option for that in there, she would have done that. I mean, she's immature, but she's smart.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't really know. That's a really great point.
I was just curious. That was like the
Mhm.
I was watching the show just thinking about like what would I do in this situation or what's there. So who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe there's a ripped out radio that's somewhere in the woods.
hopefully.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
we'll see. So I have to say, at the end of that journey, Laura Lee being seen as the most of the straight laced characters who would respect authority, her standing up to Coach Ben is just how was it playing such a pivotal moment of strength for that character?
I loved that, and that is all thanks to our brilliant director because the "What are you gonna do to stop me, coach?" line was really Jackie's line.
Oh wow.
And our director was like, "No, Lee needs this line because this is her like final like I'm standing up to you moment." And so I was really really happy that I got that line and that I could kind of play that moment. And that was really fun. I've seen videos and clips of it because I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but that little like step forward that I did was like a big decision for me. At the moment, I was like, should I step forward? Should I not step forward? Should I just stay here? How does this? Would I do this? It was a very big moment for me, but I really liked the way that it turned out and that whole monologue, especially. My favorite thing of that entire scene is when she's like, "Excuse me." She's really quiet at the beginning, and then she's like, "No." It's so funny to me. I like just from 0 to 100 real quick,
Yes.
which is what I love about her. That's, like, very her. She's very gung ho, very, "I'm
Yeah.
gonna take care of things." So yeah, that was fun.
I don't know if you know this information, but what sign do you think Laura Lee is?
Oh, okay, I've thought about this. Being my astrology nerd self that I am,
Same.
I definitely yeah, I definitely think that she is, a Cancer sun. I think she's very, very loving, very kind, but also kind of doesn't think things through, which is kind of a, you know. Um, and then I would say Aquarius rising or moon. And then there's like one Aries placement in that big three, but I never know where to put it. Um,
You think so?
I
Aries? I
think
wouldn't know.
so.
But I have played this
I
game with my
know.
friend. We are both astrology nerds, so we were trying
Hmm.
to pick the signs for all of the
Yeah.
1996 and current day characters because I'm convinced Thaisa is a Capricorn. Nobody can tell me
Oh,
otherwise.
for sure. And Jackie's a
Right?
Leo.
Oh,
Jackie's a Leo. Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%. See? But
Yeah.
I don't think I would have placed an Aries. That's a very interesting choice.
Hmm.
You and I could have a
Because
show just trying to pick signs for all these characters.
do their entire birth charts.
Yes.
Um, no, I think that the Aries comes in with those that like strong-headedness. But also it's so close to Taurus. I think it's like an Aries Taurus cusp type of
Right.
situation because she has to that stubbornness, she has a lot of fire in that. Um and I see her as this like fiery water sign with just like the tiniest sprinkle of air added in.
Yeah, no. I
Um
see it. Now that you
yeah,
brought it up, I
yeah,
see it.
yeah.
It's just like I'm mind blown because that was not in
I
my
know.
sign speculations.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And I
love it.
think that there's also like a couple other characters that I would identify that have Aries in their big three. And so I think that like that's how her relationships kind of develop.
Right.
But I also definitely think Lottie is a Pisces, and that's why the Pisces and Cancer, you know,
Yeah.
are
And it
hanging out
explains the
together.
relationship so well.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I understand more why I got Lottie on the BuzzFeed quiz. The Pisces. It's all making sense to me now as I'm
It's all
thinking about it.
making sense.
Well, so Courtney Eaton mentioned in an interview that her internal motivation in singing "Kiss from a Rose" when she was preparing for the scene was telling herself that that was Laura Lee's favorite song. Is that
Mm.
in your headcanon now as well?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't before, but as soon as I heard the song on Doom Coming, I was like, yeah, this is definitely a Laura Lee song. This is what she would listen to. I added it to my Laura Lee playlist that I
I
recently
love the
released.
playlist, by the way. So I checked it
Thank
out.
you.
I have
Thank
a
you.
special request to add Learn to Fly from Foo Fighters just for the humor.
Okay. Okay. I will. I will. I was thinking about putting Girl on Fire, but I was like, that's like a little bit too on the
Yeah, a little
nose.
much.
A little
But
much.
Laura Lee was practicing that intro on piano,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
For sure. She definitely was. Yeah, I just love Laura Lee as a character, and I think that I don't know how myself played her and played it so Christian, but I think I just, like, went into it and was like, "I just have to really fully believe in
Yeah.
everything that this character believes in," and that's how I went into that headspace.
I think you did an amazing job, and I've been
Thank you.
obviously fangirling and following you on Instagram, and I can see the difference on how you are and the
Mhm.
character that you play. When you say you felt like a different person when you put on the Laura Lee persona, I
Yeah.
see it, which makes it even more amazing the performance that you gave. Because
Thank
when I
you.
talk to
Thank
you
you.
now and following you on social media, I see a complete different girl than the girl you were playing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
Now
awesome.
I'm fantasy booking in my head, thinking for season 2, Lottie needs a vision of like a dark Laura Lee to come back.
I
Oh my
hope. I mean,
god.
fingers crossed, right? At
Yes.
Yeah,
least at least for, maybe a few episodes,
something.
sprinkle her in.
So
I mean,
I asked Kevin this question, and I have to ask you. I have a feeling though that you might give me a biased answer, but I'm still gonna ask you the question. If
Okay.
you were stranded in the woods all by yourself, would you
Mhm.
rather have Laura Lee's faith or Lottie's visions?
Mm, I'll take the visions. Not gonna lie.
Same.
I'll take the visions. Take the visions
Same.
because that faith is gonna
Interesting.
make you take flight and die.
See, but that's
I'm not gonna
that's
do
a
that.
slight bias answer.
slight,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, just slightly. I feel like everybody might be slightly biased after episode
Right.
8.
It's just amazing how the shit went down when Laura Lee wasn't there to be a compass and guide for the group and for Lottie to keep her in check.
Yes, yes, and I think that that's definitely why Laura Lee had to go. Like, there has to be that moment of, "Oh, like, s stuff's gonna happen." Like, there's no moral compass anymore. It's gone off the rails, but I also just really like how her death was such a hero thing,
Yeah.
and I think that that's why it really only affects Lottie the most because she felt like she could have done the most, but
Mhm.
everybody else that we've been on a team together, we played soccer for years. Everybody else knew my headstrong qualities. They knew they weren't going to be able to stop me, but I think Lottie was like, that's why it affected her so much because she knew she would have been one of the only people to stop me and she didn't do anything. Um, so I think that that's a really cool way to take out a character, you know what I mean? In
Totally.
such a special way like that. Also, first death, so I'll take
Yeah.
that.
Hey,
Post crash.
yeah. And what's your experience been like watching this series?
Oh, it's been so much fun. I've been watching with my family and friends. Was hanging out with two of my friends last night. We watched Euphoria. We get together every week and
Nice.
watch Euphoria when it comes out. And every single time, without a doubt, whenever I'm watching TV with my friends, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't wanna watch that. I wanna watch Yellowjackets." I'm like, "I have seen it so many times. Please go watch it on your own time because I don't think I can watch it anymore. I've seen it, like, 20 times. Like, I love you, I love the show, but it's going to melt my brain. Like, I need a break from all of the gore for just 1 second." But I swear, every single time I go over to a friend's house or they come over to my house, they're like, "Can we watch Yellowjackets? That's
Wow.
really all I wanna watch." I'm like, "You're really not gonna
Is
let me
that
go through the
good?
other options?" Yeah,
Is
but
that
I'm
good?
honored, I'm honored, and I'm like, "Well, I got I'll just turn it on for you. I'll do something else." Um, no, I was gonna say, but I do have plans once Omicron gets somewhat better, in LA to, do a whole like watch party and
Nice.
binge the entire first season with my friends, which should be fun.
That's
That should be
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
And, do you have any favorite fan theories?
Oof.
Okay, let's see. I really, really liked the Adam is hobby theory, even though that's not true. I just was like, when this theory first came up, because when we were reading the scripts, people kind of, were starting to think this in, the cast and the crew. They were like, "Oh, is Adam hobby?" And I was like, "That would be amazing. Like, that would be such a switcheroo. Like, could you imagine?" And they were like, "It's not gonna be that because it's too obvious." And I was like, "No, if they're gonna do it." And then, of course, it didn't happen, but I just loved how people were, like, picking up on it. I didn't, but I wanted to go on Reddit and, like, respond to all of the Adam is hobby things and just, like, be like, "Yes, this is 100% the answer. You got it. Oh my god." But I didn't. I just really like that theory.
Yeah, I think we were, all of us super fans were reaching with that one, but
Mhm,
it was just so good
mhm.
that it was hard to let go. I'm
Yep.
also curious to know who your favorite modern day character is.
Definitely older Shauna, Melanie.
Nice.
I just love watching Melanie perform. I mean, all of them are amazing. Christina, Melanie, Tawny, and Juliet. But for me, I think the I really hadn't I'd seen Melanie on Two and a Half Men,
Yeah.
but I hadn't really seen anything else that Melanie had to, but I'm a cheerleader. Um, and the funny thing is we were on the same plane together when we went to Canada, and we get into customs and she's with her baby, and she didn't have, like, the right paper that she
Mm,
printed out, like, she was missing one, and I was like, "Here, like, we have the same paper, like, I'm part of the same show, here you go, like, it's me." Um, and they, like, let her pass through with one of my papers, but, ever since then, she was just very, very sweet to me, and
nice.
she's such a role model. She got all of us necklaces at the end,
Oh,
and she would send us emails and just say, like, "Hey, if you ever don't know who to talk to on set and have any issues, come to me, we can figure it out, we'll work it out." And just honestly, such a blessing to have her. And I mean, I've reached out and told her that she's amazing, but I never needed to reach out to her. But I was just really glad that she gave everybody that option. It was really sweet.
that's awesome. That's
Mhm.
really great to hear. So what other projects do you have coming up? What are you working on now?
Well, I'm currently auditioning like crazy, which is really fun. I love doing auditions. And then I'm also a writer, so I have something in the works with that, which is really exciting. And then yeah, I'm also just figuring out kind of what I want to do because I took 5 classes while we filmed Yellowjackets.
Wow.
I don't know why I did that to myself. So I'm a little burned out. um,
Right.
but I'm taking this semester off, kind of figuring out what I want to do, what my next game plan is. But yeah, definitely just auditioning and working on my writing projects, which is very fun. I hope to release some in some way. My like dream is to produce a poetry book, so
Oh, nice.
That would
hopefully.
be amazing. You know
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
can get over the burnt out is you need to throw another Why Not a Writer theme party.
That's actually very true. I will get
Yes,
right on that. I
I
will hit up
mean,
my
I,
friend
I saw
Mila.
that in your feed and I thought that was incredible. I love this girl and I will forever love her.
That was one of the best parties I think I've ever had. It was 2019, so, better
Right.
times. And it was, like, the last, like, Halloween party I had. Before pandemic, I did a Halloween party with my one of my best friends, and she was my roommate for a little bit, Mila, and we went to high school together, and our first party that we did, because we were kinda like the weird kids in high school that didn't, like, really party, like, we wanted like, our version of partying was doing crafts,
Right.
you know? So we had a Disney-themed Halloween party and made, like, felt like Mickey Mouses, decorated cookies, made a magic mirror to, like, take pictures in front of. We made did not make Jello shots with alcohol in them. No, 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 no. We made the alien Jello shots from Toy
No.
Story. Yeah, no alcohol to be found. And I
Amazing.
was this Laura Lee moment. Here's a Laura Lee moment. I was like, the easiest way to heat this up is just to put the Pyrex mixing bowl, the glass mixing bowl, on the stove.
It's not insane. That used to be
It's
possible before they changed the formula.
it's true. It's true. I
Yes.
thought that I was right in this. And then yeah, it exploded. So
Yeah.
that was cute. We really
Oh,
did not
no.
have a lot of jello that night. Thank God there wasn't any alcohol in it, or else that would have been an even worse
Oh.
mess. That would have smelled so bad.
Oh, Jane, you're just tempting fate.
I know. I was like, I don't think I should be allowed in the kitchen anymore. Maybe at all. Microwave, that's what I can handle.
At least you found out about it early on, so you can just avoid
It's
it
true.
forever now, you know?
It's true. And you really learn these life lessons. Like, I don't think Laura Lee will ever fly a plane again, but she can't. So, yeah.
That is
Yeah.
out of her bucket list. Oh, and you will not learn how to fly a plane on Laura Lee's
No.
bucket list. No.
Nah, it's not there anymore.
I
It's not
see
there.
it. People today, I'm playing like Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm like, I think I could take
I
the
think I
controls if I
could
had
do
to.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I honestly feel the same way because my brother has also let me steer a few times. It was so funny. There was this guy that tweeted about Yellowjackets on Twitter, and he works at Red Bull, and I saw that in his
Oh, yeah.
title, and I DM'd him, and I was like, "Hey, you think I could get some Red Bull? Like, I want some Red Bull." And he was like, "Yeah, I can send you some Red Bull." I was like, "Oh, sick!" He was like, "Just don't fly any planes while you drink the Red Bull." And I was like, "You got it. I'm just not gonna tell you that my brother loves to drink Red Bull when he's flying." But I got this Red Bull in. They sent me 192 cans of Red Bull. I have enough Red Bull to survive a plane crash in the woods. Like, I could have had enough Red Bull for all of them.
And guess what? It
Um,
gives you wings, so you don't need
I
to
kn
fly the plane. You'll have your own wings.
See, this is why they needed to give me the Red Bull beforehand. The funny thing is I actually do have a tattoo behind my neck of wings, of a pair of wings, that I've always had. So that was also hilarious going into filming. I was like, "I'm flying. Oh my god." Yeah.
I love
It's like,
it.
this is weird. Why do all of my tattoos have weird coincidences?
We always talk about, is this show supernatural? Is there something supernatural going on? Now I'm a firm believer in signs. Obviously,
Mhm.
there's all the signs point you were meant to play Laura Lee.
There was another weird coincidence thing that happened. I posted it on my Instagram stories, but I was looking through the Reddit Yellowjackets page and somebody said, "Oh, a tribute for Laura Lee." And I was like, I wonder what this is. And I click on it and it's this song, and they were like, these lyrics, this song, the music video, it all fits into Laura Lee. I think some of the lyrics were like attributing to like a plane crash or something like
Oh,
that,
wow.
and like birds and connecting to her. And it's Daphne by Leah Ices.
Hmm.
And Leah Ices is my favorite artist and has been since I was 13. And it
What are
was
the odds?
yeah, it was very weird to me, especially because she's such a one-off artist that anytime I'm like, "Oh, have you heard this song? It's by Leah Ices," to my friends, and I'm like, "Oh, this is my favorite song." Like, "We don't know who that is." Like, nobody knows who that is. I'm like,
Right.
"Okay, yeah, nobody knows who that is. It's good though. You should listen to it." Um, but it was just so weird, like such crazy coincidences that happen that are like, that's trippy. Nobody knows that artist. That's my favorite artist. Nobody else.
Right.
This community for Yellowjackets is unlike anything I've ever seen, and I feel like, I'm going back to, like, I was an OG, like, My So-Called Life fan, and when the
Mhm.
internet was new, and I remember how passionate people were about that then, but seeing this, we're seeing all these great fan arts and edits, and I
Mhm.
haven't seen any fan fiction yet, not, like, serious fan fiction.
I've seen some fan fiction.
Oh my
Really?
god.
There's a bunch of Lottie Lee fan fiction that
Send me
Uh-oh.
the links.
episode 2, that fan fiction came out. Hilarious.
My
But
god.
yeah, it was basically like Lottie is searching, through her pillbox 2 days after they crash, and Laura Lee comes up to her and is like, what are you taking those for? Like, why didn't you tell me? And then they like end up like hugging and having a moment, and that's what the fan fiction was about. So
Keep talking about
yeah.
this. Showtime needs to do some licensing. I mean, the Shauna journals. We've been talking a recurring theme, like, because we know a lot of artists. Like, someone needs to pitch like Yellowjackets freshman year, the comic book or something.
Hmm.
I feel like these characters, we want to know more of this world,
Hmm.
and it's going to be so painful to wait for this next season.
Yeah, it's gonna be painful for me too because I know I'm not gonna have any clue what's happening. Um, I'm gonna have to text. I'm gonna have to text the group chat and be like, "Can you guys just like fill me in every week? Like, I just a FaceTime call. That's it. That's all I require.
You're not asking
10
for much.
minutes.
Yeah.
Just 10 minutes of your time."
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited. I mean, even with the older stuff and watching the show, I tried to not pay attention to their scenes as much.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, because I'm dead, I wouldn't know what's happening to them, but also I'm way younger, like there's a disconnect there. So I wouldn't even know to begin with. So I tried to leave a lot of the older stuff as a mystery. And that's been really fun being able to watch. I always get really excited when I see the older stuff because I'm like, I don't really know what's going to happen. And this is like a whole new world. It was really like we were filming two different shows, which was
Yeah.
super
Right.
cool.
And they were filming one week on, 1 week off. They were alternating
Mhm.
between the 2.
Yeah. So we
Crazy.
would do yeah, we would do 1 week older, 1 week younger, 1 week older, 1 week younger, which was nice. It gave us, like, a little bit of a break, during that week off, which was nice.
So did you know, the big reveal with the cult and everything at the end of episode 10?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's just like, "Yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna go there. Lottie is alive," and,
Mhm. I also, like, knew about all of, like, the Lottie stuff,
yeah,
Um, I think they really start to tell you about it in, I think it's episode 6, like, the
yeah.
one where, like, literally every shot with her, there's a pair of antlers behind her, and you're like, "What the heck, guys?"
See, I'm the type of fan that would be like, "That's too obvious," but Adam's back tattoo, I'm still convinced means something.
Yeah. That's exactly who
True.
you are, Glenn.
That's
It's
exactly who I
true.
am. I'm gonna die on that hill.
Mhm.
Well, Jane, thank you so much for your time
Thank
today.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
Please,
having me.
anytime you wanna come back, hey, season 2, if you wanna recap an episode and do a deep dive, please. Love to
I
chat
would
Yellowjackets.
love to spitball theories with you guys when season 2 comes out. That would be amazing.
Ah, love
Awesome.
it.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening. We will catch you next time on Yellowjackets Buzz.
Thank you. Bye.